So, pleasant day to all of us. My name is Cyrish Enriquez and my partner is Miss Arielle Garcia. And for today, we're going to tackle about the biological weapons and the different concepts behind it. And to start, these are the contents of this presentation. First is the threat. Second is the biological warfare agents. Third is the defense against biological weapons. Next is the biological weapons in history and the biological weapons proliferation. And lastly, the biological terrorism. For the introduction of this topic, a staggering variety of microbes and chemicals found in the environment pose serious health threats to humans, but some can be manipulated to be even more dangerous. Many of the deadliest weapons in this conflict evolved in some of the smallest life forms. Modern technology and advances in the fields of microbiology and genetics have made possible the modification or even combination of weapons to create new ways to sicken or kill with increasing efficiency. With the dawn of a new age of biological warfare, many battles of the future will be won not on a battlefield but in the laboratory, and their outcome could very well mean the extinction of the human race. Understanding how biological weapons work allows us not only to respond appropriately to terrorist attacks, but also, hopefully, to prevent them.
First part of our topic is the threat. Biological weapons. Biological weapons is a real threat in our society. Some agents are available for legal purchase on the internet with proper credentials. It is extremely likely that there is an international black market for the deadliest of these agents. So, also called the germ weapons, and a number of disease-producing agents such as bacteria, viruses, rickettsia, fungi, toxins, or other biological agents that may be utilized as weapons against human, animals, or plants.
Biological warfare agents. There are three categories of biological agents: the bacteria, virus, and the toxins. First is the bacteria. Bacteria are microscopic single-celled organisms that thrive in diverse environments. These organisms can live in the soil, the ocean, and even inside the human gut. These are some of the examples of bacteria. The first one is the anthrax. Bacillus anthracis bacteria, which causes anthrax, is one of the deadliest agents to be used as a biological weapon. Anthrax has been used as a bioweapon for about a century mixed with powders, sprays, food, and water. The invisible, infectious, odorless, and tasteless spores makes anthrax a flexible bioweapon. Letters containing powdered anthrax spores were intentionally mailed through the U.S. postal systems in 2001, affecting 22 people, of which 5 died. The next one is the plague. Yersinia pestis bacterium, a CDC Category A organism causing pneumonic plague. Plague has been intentionally used as a weapon since the 14th century. The Japanese army dropped a plague infected fleas over populated areas in China and Manchuria in the World War II. And Soviet scientists successfully produced large quantities of antibiotic resistant plague organisms suitable for weapons during the 1980s. Then, tularemia. Extreme infectiousness, ease of dispersion, and the ability to cause illness and death make Francisella tularensis bacterium a dangerous bioweapon. The bacterium, which is classified as Category A agent, was studied by Japanese germ warfare research units and some of the Western military powers for military purposes. And the last one is the cholera. While B. cholerae is not the deadliest agent of bioterrorism, it could definitely be used to disrupt normal government or military functions, to cripple a tourism-based economy, or to generate fear and panic in the population. Strong evidence suggests that, among other agents, B. cholerae was intentionally spread in China by Japan's military in the 1930s, and it could easily be mistaken for a natural outbreak in many areas of the world. If this agent were used on populations with limited access to clean water, the mortality rate would be staggering. I'm going to show you some of the examples of the photos of the bacteria. First one is the anthrax. In this blood smear stained with carbol-fuchsin, chains of rod-shaped bacillus anthracis cells stain red. And the next one is the plague. Yersinia pestis bacteria stained pink with a gram stain. Next one is the tularemia. Francisella tularensis bacteria are tiny oblong cells that stain gram-negative. And the last one is the cholera. The scanning electron micrograph shows comma-shaped Vibrio cholerae bacteria.
Virus. Virus is likely the most devastating type of biological weapon. It is derived from the Latin word for poison, but perhaps a word for pirate or hijacker. Virus sneak into the body cell, effectively hiding from the immune system. A virus then takes control of an infected cell, forcing it to use all available materials to generate new virus particles or virons. Here are the examples of viruses. First is the Ebola. Ebola virus is a filament-shaped member of the Filoviridae virus family. Its name stems from the area of Africa near the Ebola River where the virus was first identified. It naturally exists in animal reservoir, most likely fruit bats, without harming them. However, it can cause fatal symptoms in humans, chimpanzees, monkeys, gorillas, porcupines, and forest antelopes. There is no vaccine to prevent infections, no treatment to cure infection, and no small chance of surviving infection with Ebola. Next example is smallpox. Smallpox is caused by a virus called variola, derived from the Latin term varius, meaning spotted. It may be the very single most dangerous biological weapon known to mankind. It is easy to disseminate in aerosol form. It can spread rapidly from person to person, and with no known effective treatment, it is very often fatal. Next is the hantavirus. Hantavirus belong to the Bunyaviride family of viruses. More than 40 distinct strains of hantavirus have been identified, and 22 of these strains are known to cause disease in humans. Each strain of hantavirus is carried by a specific rodent species. The virus uses the rodent cell to copy itself, and it does not cause any symptoms to the rodent. Next is the viral encephalitis. And viral encephalitis is an inflammation of the brain caused by a virus. A variety of viruses can cause encephalitis, but only three are listed in the category B, potential biological weapon by the CDC. Belongs to the group known alpha viruses, which can infect human, horses, birds, rodents, and sometimes dogs. Next example is the Nipah virus. Nipah virus is a zoonotic virus. It can spread between animals and people. Nipah virus lives harmlessly in several of the migratory fruit bats in Asia. Pigs may also be infected by eating contaminated fruit. In humans, Nipah virus causes the most severe damage in small blood vessels of the lungs and brain. Lastly is the Lassa fever. Lassa fever is an acute viral hemorrhagic illness caused by a member of the arenavirus family or of viruses. Its appearance is granular or sandy under electron microscope. It naturally infects the multi-mammate rats. Its name is after the town in Nigeria where it was first found to infect human. The virus can infect human when it is ingested, inhaled, or comes with contact with broken skin. It can spread from person to person. This is a picture of Ebola. This scanning electron micrograph shows the typical shape of the Ebola virus. Smallpox. This transmission electron micrograph shows that the dumbbell-shaped region containing the DNA inside the variola major virus. Hantavirus. This transmission electron micrograph shows several round hantavirus particles. Viral encephalitis. This transmission electron micrograph shows Eastern equine encephalitis viral particles. Nipah virus. This transmission electron micrograph shows a long filamentous structure of the Nipah virus. Lassa fever. This transmission electron micrograph shows Lassa virus particles.
The third category of the biological agents is the toxins. Toxins are poisonous substances that are specific product of the metabolic activities of a living organism, and is usually very unstable, notably toxic when introduced into the tissues, and typically capable of inducing antibody formation. These are some of the examples of toxins. First is the resin. It is often considered as a poor man's poison. Resin is a toxin that comes from Ricinus communis, the castor bean plant. One molecule of resin can kill a cell. Only 200 micrograms of resin is fatal if injected or inhaled, and more is needed for a fatal dose if the toxin is ingested. The second one is the botulinum toxin. Botulinum It's relatively easy to produce and has extreme potency and lethality. It can be distributed via aerosol or by contamination of water and food supplies. A gram of botulinum toxin can kill more than a million of people if inhaled. A Japanese biological warfare group is known to have infected war prisoners with C botulinum toxins during the occupation of Manchuria. The last example is the staphylococcal enterotoxin B. Staphylococcal enterotoxin B is a potential agent of bioterrorism because of the ease of its production and dispersion, a delayed onset of symptoms, an ability to cause high morbidity, and the difficulty in discerning between intentional intoxication and natural intoxication when a viable organism is the etiologic agent.
Defense against biological weapons. Civil defense, military defense. Civil defense against biological weapon has greatly improved, but progress does not necessarily equal success. A foundation of civil defense against a biological weapon attack is a medical system that has already been set up to deal with naturally occurring diseases. Military defense. Most weaponized lethal biological agents are intended to be delivered as aerosols, which would cause infection when inhaled. For this reason, the most effective defense against biological weapons is a good, effective mask equipped with filters capable of blocking bacteria and viruses in cross-section from entry into nasal passage and lungs.
Next one is the biological weapons in history. Pre-20th century use of biological weapons, the Black Death pandemic. The Black Death is widely believed to have been the result of plague, caused by infection with the bacterium Yersinia pestis. Modern genetic analysis indicate that the strain of Y. pestis introduced during the Black Death is ancestral to all extant circulating Y strains known to cause disease in humans. Hence, the origin of modern plague epidemics lies in the medieval period. Other scientific evidences has indicated that the Black Death may have been viral in origin. So this is the photo that I found regarding Black Death. Biological weapons in the World Wars, World War I and World War II. During World War I that happened in 1914 to 1918, Germany initiated a clandestine program to infect horses and cattle owned by the Allied armies on both the Western and Eastern fronts. The Japanese use of biological warfare agents against the Chinese led to an American decision to undertake biological warfare research in order to understand better how to defend against a threat and provide, if necessary, a retaliatory capability. Biological weapons in the Cold War. The Cold War era, which followed World War II, both the Soviet Union and the United States, as well as their respective allies, embarked on a large-scale biological warfare and weapons production programs. Those programs were required by the law to be halted and dismantled upon the signing of the Biological Weapons Convention in 1972 and the entry into force of the treaty in 1975. In the case of the United States and its allies, compliance with the terms of the treaty appears to have been complete. Such was not the case with the Soviet Union, which conducted an aggressive clandestine biological warfare program even though it had signed and ratified the treaty. The lack of verification to check members' compliance with the BWC made it easier for the Soviets to flout the treaty without being detected.
Biological weapons proliferation. Biological weapons are not as expensive to manufacture as nuclear weapons, yet a biological weapon might nonetheless be the strategic weapon that would win a war. This prospect of military advantage might tempt some regimes to acquire the weapons, though perhaps clandestinely, which the degree of biological weapons proliferation is highly uncertain, difficult to detect, and difficult to quantify. Biological terrorism. Manufacture of biological and chemical weapons has been disseminated widely on the internet, and basic scientific information is also within the reach of many researchers at biological laboratories around the world. Unfortunately, it thus seems likely that poisons and disease agents will be used as terrorist weapons in the future. Conclusions. Biological weapons are a very real threat to the society around the world. Understanding how biological weapons work allows us not only to respond appropriately to terrorist attacks, but also hopefully to prevent them. The best defense is a good offense. It is imperative that society be aware of the dangers of biological weapons. These are the references we've used. Thank you.